And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, today we're taking a look at Above and Below. This is from Red Raven Games. If you go back and look at my track record of reviewing Red Raven Games, you'll notice it's exceptionally high. It's very high considering the fact that the person who designs the games is also the publisher of the games, is also the artist of the games, and is also the graphic designer of the games. That is rare, not rare that it happens, a lot of people do it, but it's rare that someone's good at all those things. Usually they're good at one of the four. Anyhow, Above and Below, I heard that it was a storytelling game, similar to Tales of Arabian Nights and things like that. Oh, that sounds interesting. Let's see if it's any good or not. Let's talk about points first, so you kind of know what we're heading towards in this game. Here you have a reputation track. This is the reputation board. And during the game, your reputation is going to go up or it could go down. At the end of the game, you're going to lose points for, if you're down here, and you'll gain points if you get all the way up here. So if you get all the way to the end of the reputation track, you'll get 7 points. And whoever has the most, second most, and third most will also get points at the end of the game. Over here, players are going to be storing goods over the game. Whenever you have a chance, you can put a good in one of these spots, and there's different goods. So let's say I put a fruit here. If I decide to put another fruit, it has to go in this spot. So as time goes by, you're going to be putting different goods in these spots, and at the end of the game, each good in that spot is going to be worth that much. So here I have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 points. So you can see that if I had managed to get like 3 pots here at the end of the game, that would be worth 12 points. And then finally, all of your buildings are worth a point, but some buildings are also worth extra points. Like see, this one here is worth 7 points, and it's also worth 2 points for every underground building that you have. This one here is 2 points, and 2 points for every person that you have. So there's also buildings that give bonus points. Now, as to how you do all this, that's going to revolve around these folks here. You start with these 3 workers, and it depends where they start, depends on how many players are playing. But as the game goes by, each person is going to go in turn order, and they're going to move 1 or more workers over here and take one of the actions at the top. One of the actions here can be to pick fruit or produce a good. So if you happen to have a building that has goods on it, like when you get this one here has 2 goods on it, you can pull one of those off. Or maybe you have this building here, which gives you one of these replenishes every turn. And so you can pull it off. Anybody can do that. Anybody can also go and simply get another coin. If you need more coins or more gold, you can do that. Now, some of the actions are specialized. To build a new building, you need to have a builder token on the tile. This guy does. So if I use him, I can build a building. Each of the buildings up here is going to cost a certain amount of money. You can see here at the top, this one here costs 14, that one costs 2. Some of these buildings, these are called key buildings, and these are star buildings. They'll start the game out here. Other buildings are going to be replenished from piles over here. You have these regular buildings, and you have underground buildings, which can only be built if you have a cavern. Some of the buildings provide different special things when you have them. Some will give points at the end of the game. Some will give resources. Some will provide beds. Beds are important. Everyone starts with a building with 3 beds because at the end of every round, you're going to be able to replenish workers equal to the number of beds you have. So you start with 3 workers. You have 3 beds. You can replenish them. Speaking of workers, another action you can take is to recruit somebody. This can only be done with someone who has a quill on their card. Here's the different people that you can recruit, and in fact later on through adventures there might even be other people that can join you, but you can see they have different stats and different symbols on them. Now you may be wondering what these stats are for, and that's for the final action that you can take on your turn. But before I get to that final action, I also mentioned that you can, for a free action, you can always put one of your things here and say I'm selling this, and on someone else's turn for a free action they can buy that from you. They have to pay at least 3, but the price is set between the 2 of you. Anyhow, you might want to go on an adventure. Now when you go on an adventure, you're going to take the top card, a cavern card, and you're going to roll a 6-sided die, and that's going to tell you what number adventure to go to. the player next to you is going to take the encounter book and read the adventure to you. Now I'm showing you one example of one of these encounters. I'm trying not to spoil. There's over 200 of these encounters in the book. I'm not even showing you what number this one is, so you'll never know when you get it. But this is an example of one of the encounters. So they'll read the flavor text to you, blah, 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 and then they'll give you these options. They'll say search this site, explore 3, or cross the bridge to camp, explore 4, or explore 6. They won't tell you after that. The things in parentheses are the rewards you get if you successfully explore those. If you unsuccessfully explore those, well, basically nothing happens and your turn's over. If you explore those successfully, though, you'll get those rewards, although sometimes there's even another thing that happens if you fail. All right, so let's say I'm trying to get an explore 4 here. What I'm going to do is roll a die for each person. So here I roll a 5. Now, since I rolled a 5 on this guy here, a 3 or higher gives 2 explore. Great. Now I roll a die for her. 3. Is that higher than 2? Yes, she gives another one. Then I roll a die for the last guy. 5. So there I got an explore 4. Sometimes it will say explore 4, explore 7, or explore 3, explore 5. If I got the smaller number, I get the smaller rewards. If I get the higher reward, I get the higher ones. If you don't get it, let's say on this guy I had rolled a 3. That's only 3 explore, and I needed 4. So at that point, I could put one of the people who went on the trip with me here. They're basically hurt, and I'm not going to be able to get them back at the end of a round unless I pay a potion. And then there's ways to get potions that you can bring these people back. But that can give me the extra edge to get and the things that I need to get for this going and exploring. So you'll notice as time goes by, you'll get better ones. See this guy here, for example, he always gives 2 explore, always. And he will give 3 explore if you get a 5 or higher. So you're going to want these people, and you'll notice to get these people, like I said, some of them come from adventures, otherwise you're going to pay the cost and get them. So those are the different actions that you will take at the end of a round. Players are going to move over people that they have for beds. If you get some of this whiskey or rum or whatever this delicious drink is, you can then move one over for each one of those you spend. If you have potions, you can move these people over to here, and then you start another round. If you beat the adventure, you'll stick this cave card here, which gives you a chance to build the cavern buildings, which can have some pretty cool stuff inside them later on. After a certain number of rounds, determined by the number of players, we'll add up points like I pointed out, and whoever has the most is the winner. Okay, so let's talk first about the components of the game. They're great. Everything looks good. The artwork is fine, blah, 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 as typical from Red Raven games. There is a lot of pieces, and there is a lot going on, and there's almost too many building cards all over the table, but that's not that big of a deal. The symbology is pretty easy to understand, and I do like that the money is square rather than round. I don't know, just something different. Gameplay itself is pretty straightforward. I do like that at the top of a player's board it tells you the actions you can take, and there's not a lot to remember. Quills can recruit people, hammers build buildings, and everyone can go on adventures and things. There's going to be some various things. Let's try to put this all together here. We have the adventures. Now, if you've ever played the game Tales of Arabian Nights, you go off on adventures and there's crazy stories and things that happen to you, and you might meet a beggar and you can punch the beggar, befriend the beggar, steal from the beggar, all kinds of things. And in that game, whatever you did, something would happen. And it might not be what you expect. You might befriend a beggar and he steals everything from you. You might beat him and find out that he was a thief, and so you were catching him. Hooray. You're never quite sure. In this game, you're pretty sure. Sometimes the game will present you with do you help this person or not? And if you don't help them, you might get a better reward, but your reputation will suffer. So there's some, there's a natural progression. It does suffer from the obvious that there's all these paragraphs in this book, and they're all, disjointed from each other. You're going to find, when you go on one adventure, it's very different than others. There's no linear storyline. Each story is there. The stories are well written and no work. I don't know how caught up in the theme I was, because half of them seemed like you were meeting an old woman and deciding whether to help her or not. The game itself pushes you to go exploring because you need it to build those buildings, but you don't have to. In fact, a lot of the building is about getting those goods, and getting those goods can get you a lot of points. And this is what keeps me from ranking this one really high, because I found that the game fine, moving workers, using workers, recovering workers, and so on. That's nothing fantastic new. There's a lot of games that do that, where you have workers use them and get them back and such. and even workers with special abilities. The story here is the unique element to this game, but it's kind of random. Even though it's less random than other storytelling games have been, it's still random. I go adventuring, what are you going to find? I don't know. Who knows? And that's fine. I mean, it's certainly fun to do that, but there's no like rhyme or reason, and it may not be the optimal way to winning. While if you sit there and say, I'm going to get money and build money and get fruits and vegetables and whatever, rope and pots and things, that's a solid way to get points. Now, adventuring can fight that, and of course you can get your reputation up, which gets you a lot of points in that regard. But someone who goes after money and plays the game solely as a straight Euro game has a good shot at winning. Now, there's some benefits to that, right? All for different styles of play. I'm all for that. I just wish that since this is like the focus of the game, there's a storybook, that the storybook was more potent. You need it to get those caves, and you will get some cool rewards and maybe some extra people sometimes, or sometimes you'll get some things, and it's great, but those things you get may not be the things you exactly need at any one point in time. I still liked it. I still think it's an interesting design. It has a unique original feel. Even if most of it's not original, it still feels fresh and new. And that's the way Brian does most of his games, Above and Below, is certainly an example of one of those. If you like worker placement games, if you like story games, but you felt like they were too scattered and there wasn't much game there, the game is definitely here. So check this one out. That's Above and Below. Dice Tower Judgment approved.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
Shut the door.